Carson Wentz is now an Indianapolis Colts. He was traded to Indianapolis last week, and pretty much as the trade goes at this particular moment in time, the way that it's structured is Carson goes to Indianapolis. Indy sends a couple of draft picks to Philly. The only caveat is that they're second round draft picks, but if Carson Wentz ends up playing 75% of the games or more this season and next season as well, those draft picks turn into first round draft picks, much to the chagrin of a lot of Colts fans. But here's what I'll say about this trade, just from a big picture perspective. I think that this is a fair trade across the board, simply because Indianapolis finally doesn't have to worry about their quarterback position for at least the next couple of years. I think Carson Wentz is going to be a pretty solid quarterback to have for Indianapolis moving forward. Kevin and I kind of talked about this topic maybe about a week and a half ago, where you could definitely see Carson Wentz's career completely revitalized in Indianapolis simply because he's pairing up with his old offensive coordinator, where he played outstanding football, arguably was having an MVP season, I believe in 2017, before he ended up tearing his ACL. I think that was the year that Tom Brady ended up winning the MVP instead. Now he gets to go back to Frank Reich. He gets to go to a team that offensively is pretty well balanced. They have a great running back field with Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines, and what's the guy's name? I'm forgetting the third running back's name. He tore his Achilles this offseason. I'm just drawing a blank on the name. If I figure it out later, I'll bring it up. But Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack is the other running back that I had in mind. So you got a solid running back core in the backfield. Whether they all stay or not, we'll see. But still, it's a solid group. They have a pretty solid wide receiving core, and they have a solid tight end group as well. So you pair those skill positions with the offensive line that the Indianapolis Colts have, I think they'll be just fine offensively. So far, from what I've seen with his new teammates, it seems to me that he's gotten off to the right foot. Obviously, as the offseason training activities start, we'll see if the relationship builds not only with the coaching staff, but with the teammates as well. And I think for the Colts, this arguably puts them in a situation where I think that they could be a top 3, top 4 team in the AFC if Carson plays well. I think if you add all those factors with Indianapolis's offensive line, their solid running back core, and a reliable tight end and wide receiver position to throw to, I think they could have a real good shot of winning the AFC South this year. Obviously, they have to go up against the Titans this year, and that's always going to be a tough divisional foe to have. But they have a really good shot at making some progress with this trade. Not only that, the Colts don't have to worry about the cap hit that Carson had upcoming this season. Philly was able to take up to $30 million of his cap hit for this season, which definitely helps out Indianapolis for this season. Now, for Philly's in a situation where I think they had just completely burned the bridge with Carson Wentz, and I think most of that responsibility is laid at the feet of Doug Peterson. He was the one that I think really set the tone for really the complete downturn of this relationship between the Eagles and Carson Wentz. So, it really kind of got to the point where it was so bad that Carson didn't seem like he was getting protected by his teammates. And there were times where Kevin and I had talked about this on one of the episodes just a few weeks ago, where it looked like his offensive line didn't even want to block for him. And that is just something that you cannot have. It completely disrupts the trust with your teammates. And it got to a point where Carson ended up getting benched, and then Jalen Hurts ended up playing the last couple games that Philly had at the end of the regular season. So I think with all those factors going forward, Philly is off to a new start with Jalen Hurts. And even that, I don't even know if that's going to really be the solution. I've also seen reports coming out that the Eagles may bring in a quarterback to stir up some sort of quarterback competition going into this season. Now, whether or not that helps Jalen Hurts or not, we'll see. But it seems to me that the Eagles need to build around Jalen Hurts at this point. They've got to do something to address the receiver position because Alshon Jeffrey is getting pretty old and he's not as reliable and as dependable with his health anymore because he missed most of last season due to injuries. Deshaun Jackson just got released, and you don't have Nelson Aguilar anymore. I know that Aguilar had some issues with drops when he was with Philly, but he's over in Oakland. He's not in Oakland. He's over in Las Vegas now, and they're going to have to completely revamp this offense for Jalen Hurts. They do have a solid running back game, so I think they're definitely going to rely on that going into this season, and they're definitely going to rely on Jalen Hurts using his legs to extend plays. But Philly's going to start all over, and maybe that's just for the better at this point. I know Philly fans are probably absolutely disgusted with the way that it ended with Carson Wentz, but it just seems like Philly has just completely moved past from that Super Bowl win that they had a couple years ago, and it looks like they are now really entering a dark time for the next couple years. Hopefully it doesn't last too long. Hopefully they can right the ship fairly quickly, but it's going to be a while, I think, before the Philadelphia Eagles really see some long-term success. But Jalen Hurts is going to be, I think, the guy to lead the team, but I guess we'll find out as we get closer to the season and whether or not the Eagles as an organization and as a coaching staff want to start this possibility of having a quarterback competition between Jalen Hurts and then some unknown quarterback at this moment in time.